Hello, I'm Sonia Sage from UK Spiritual Hour, and today, on the day of the 99 portal, I'd like to talk about past lives. So, just some divine messages that have been coming through to me as I navigate my own journey. So, in terms of ancestral connection, that has been coming up massively this year. Definitely that connection with the Earth Star chakra has really brought about an incredible activation with regards to connecting with our ancestors. And in that, and this is something I've said many times, we need to be connecting with the ancestors that we have been born into for this lifetime. Now, that's not necessarily going to be the same as our past lives. So if you think about timelines not being linear, timelines being so fluid, that we are one and everything at the same time. That's what comes to mind anyway. So in relation to our past lives, a message that I received recently, within the past week or so, was that for many Black Caribbean women, or women with Black Caribbean heritage, born in the UK at this time, our last lifetime was a good couple of 100 years ago, and we were slaves. And this came up for me in terms of work, and actually, considering it's the 99 portal, contracts that do not need to be carried over anymore, that do not need to be played out, and that have come out. So it was in releasing a contract when I headed up to the Akash that I didn't see, because I wouldn't say ancestral work isn't my speciality. Yes, I can pick up stuff, but it's not my speciality in terms of healing. I very much work on a multi-dimensional level for the creating your new blueprint and the ascension process. So that would be my speciality. But my dear friend Valerie, who is Ocean Healing on Instagram, she's incredible in terms of connecting you with your ancestors, and also in terms of connecting you with your past life. So not just reading and bringing that information through, but then also guiding in terms of healing those wounds, and connecting with that past life, and seeing the significance it plays out here. So in my case, in going up to the Akash, which is work I do in terms of my healing, and looking at the bindings that were there, and being able to finally destroy this contract that I had with and the contact that I had with another. When I then went for a healing, powerful healing, it was then brought into my awareness, the connection to this contract and my past life, or it was brought into greater awareness. So what and what I'll be honest, did astound me was my past life as a slave. So since receiving this knowledge, this awareness, I have been downloaded further by source, my ancestor spirit, and we've heard the term over over our this lifetime, most definitely. But more than ever, probably this year, black women are tired. Black women are tired. Now, with the information that I got through in terms of that slavery past life, so it's not going to be for everyone, but there's a very big percentage of us who have not come back to this earth plane since our past life in slavery, because it was hell, because it was traumatic, because really awful stuff happened within that past within that past lifetime. And let's be real, kind of me having a clearer idea of what actually happened to me in that past lifetime, like, fuck coming back. No, so I am so grateful I'm here. But anybody who's thinking like, why the hell am I here? Or why am I here in this hell earth kind of thing? We are here for a very big reason. We are here for a big reason. We have all come back. We have all come back now, at this time now. If we thought we were done out, yeah, in terms of having another life back here on earth, no. We had to come back now for this present lifetime. We are here for a reason. There is work to do. It's stuff, if you look at my previous videos on YouTube, especially on Instagram stuff, because I've probably got more on Instagram. We are here for a big reason. We have missions to fulfill. We need to be on our sole purpose. There is work to do, and it's important work. It's extremely important work. Now, this is one of the reasons. So there's that past life connection, which is separate to the ancestral line, I believe. Yet they are related, because if we look at our ancestral line, we come from slavery anyway. And what I think, do you know what, this is something that I know I've said to many women in the spiritual community, many black women, and to say it out publicly, there is that Britishness in me that feels uncomfortable to say it, so I'm just going to say it plain. So basically, there are all different roles in terms of what is going on at the moment. There are different roles. What I do know so strongly is it is the black woman, the black spiritual woman, the black divine mother, the black goddess, and us as the representation of her, who seeds and births the new age. That doesn't mean that white women do not have any place. They do. They have great place in this whole protest. They are front line. They are front line in fighting whatever is going on in the 3D world. But it is specifically black women who are to birth new earth. It is the black divine mother who rebirths the original mother, the melanated woman who births the new earth. I've been given this message so many times. over the past few months, and even more so recently. There's lots that we still need to learn, there's lots that we still need to heal. We have a unique understanding that no one else will understand in terms of how humanity should be treated, how people shouldn't be treated. We have a unique understanding of what it feels like to not have a true human 3D identity. In never quite being home, in being able to see, and this is spiritual melanated women, particularly those who come from with the heritage of slavery within them. Indigenous women. And then when we go to the Indigenous women, we go across the world, and it is the Indigenous women across the world, particularly women, because it is about the divine feminine, it is about the divine mother. It's about when we go even further back, we look at the total stripping away of the divine feminine. It was the woman who led. At the beginning of the year, I wrote, and I know I've said this a number of times this year, I wrote, it's time for the Indigenous to take the lead. That Indigenous is not it's not just what you're told to see by the media as Indigenous. Because black melanated women are not told by the Western media that they are Indigenous. You are Indigenous. It's time for the Indigenous to take the lead, to stand in their power and their birthright. The ancestors will do what they have to do until this happens. And it may die down for a few months, but the following year it will be worse. More fires, more natural disasters, more earthquakes. Yet more light shone on those who continue to uphold a colonial reign of thievery, disproportionate distribution of wealth, and complete disregard of the land, our Mother Earth. There are those of you who will need to step back, who will need where you were so used to leading, where you are so used to leading because you've had that privilege to be able to lead. It is time for us to lead. We have to lead the way. We are leaders. We are divine. We are Indigenous. Our life, if you think in terms of the spiritual journey, it is your experiences that guide you to be a good leader. It is your trauma that is your gift to the world. That trauma that was suffered and by our ancestors, the trauma that we see our people from this lifetime still suffering in, It is time for us to restore our value. And that value is what we place with love to the Divine Mother, upholding her will, upholding her love, upholding her light, letting her know that in physical form we will do right by her, by the earth, by our ancestors too, of all Indigenous across the world. And those who do need to step back, who have had the privilege of leading all these years, all these centuries. We're not saying step back forever. You still have a place, you are still valued. But so much has to be rectified. And we need the space to be able to do this. This work is to be done layer by layer. This is why those with ancestry that goes back to the slave trade, to the transatlantic slave trade, who are still bearing and living with the effects of these atrocities. Perfect example is an MP. Yesterday or over the past few days, being so disparaging to Marcus Rashford, a young black, I'm going to call him a boy because he's 3 years older than my eldest son. I could be his mother. Being so disparaging and racist, inherently racist. This is still going on. In fact, it's probably worse than we've known it in our lifetimes. It's worse than I've ever known it in my lifetime. Many atrocities, disparities. There is so much that needs rectifying, and we need the space to do this. It's time for the Indigenous to take the lead. We are the Indigenous. We are the Indigenous. I am Indigenous. Allow us to lead. I'm going to give an example in terms of ancestral connection and how and the effects on black men. And again, this was brought through as incredible guidance, incredible connection from Ocean Healing. She picked up my children's paternal line. Valerie had already, a couple of months ago, connected with my paternal line. Oh, beautiful. And more recently, my maternal line. Just, yeah, absolutely beautiful. But she connected with my children's paternal line. And the story in terms of of the slavery and the effects that I see. These wounds are so unbelievably deep, unbelievably deep. Their core or key ancestor, male ancestor, had been kidnapped, completely brutalised, and he left behind a wife who was pregnant, so he never saw his first child. And he was sent to the Caribbean as a slave. Absolutely brutalised. I felt the pain. And the funny thing is, I'd been having messages come through via the angelic numbers to connect with the energy, and had not put two and two together until I was sat in this room having a beautiful veggie curry with Valerie, and the energy was channeled through. But in his despair, his rage, his anger, and I don't even know what other emotions to put onto it, because I can't comprehend. He was abusive to women and had many women and many children, and this passed down the family line. And then I've ended up with one of his descendants, who I've had my children with. And I have 3 boys. So this energy passed down as the deepest core wound you can possibly imagine. And when I first recounted this story, because I can see that core wound running through that family line, running then with a great big possibility into my children, into my black sons. The wounds, just because slavery is over, does not mean the wounds are not there. They are there. And going back to that key ancestor story, before he was kidnapped, while he was still in the mother country with his wife, his pregnant young wife, he wasn't horrible. He wasn't abusive. He wasn't a philanderer. And that is that understanding that brought to me, especially because it is so deep, it is so connected. I have born children from that family line. I've born sons, all sons from that family line. And it really made me understand how deep the core wounds from slavery are, the absolute need for ancestral healing. And it's not just ancestral healing, it's that and so much more. So from that ancestral line, from the lifetime and the ancestral line that we've been born in today. The past life stuff is then a different thing altogether, and my own personal past life, I've been doing this work for years now, or it feels like years. I've been doing this work on myself, on other people for years, and I don't stop the work. I've had to wait this long. I've had to wait 6 years to be ready for my past life energy to come up for me. It's taken me 6 years to get ready for that. And I stopped some of the information coming through because as it stands right now, today, I didn't need to hear all the information, because I think it would have been too traumatic. It would have been too traumatic. And it resonates with unexplained fears even that I've had. So, I'm sure we've all got certain fears, and I was going to say little, but they're not necessarily little. Certain fears that we've never told anyone about because they are unexplained and there's kind of no logic to them. There's no reason to have them. So my past life, hearing and learning about my past life, it brought reasoning. It brought reasoning to that. It helped me understand myself a lot better. There's a lot going on. There are incredible amounts going on. And I will read this to finish off. And this is from this I saw on a post last year, and the lady was called, who wrote this, I think, Renisha Newton, and she said, "You all aren't aware of certain people's spiritual realm. A lot of you are bringing hell to your front door because you're attempting to hex divine children, and people who were specifically sent here with certain soul missions which affect global consciousness." And picking up on my past life was that the connection that in terms of the contract that I had to clear, and there's been more that have been brought to my awareness of people who are literally sent in. I suppose this dark energy gets sent in to stop you fulfilling your life purpose, and you don't realize until you begin to awaken. And again, this is me having my spiritual awakening over 6 years ago, and only now realizing, my goodness me, there are contracts up there. That with people who were, or contracts that were created even in this lifetime, with people sent in to derail me of my life purpose. Actually, that's an important, on that bit quickly. So one of the things I was shown in terms of in the Akashic, I'm going to call it the Akash, that's what I like calling it, the Akash. In terms of the Akash, is, so we've got our records, but also there's, when the energy is trying to destabilize you, new contracts can form. Contracts that weren't predestined, contracts that shouldn't have happened. So these contracts, and a lot of these kind of contracts relate to things like toxic relationships, real crappy, stupid ass 3D relationships that come in to limit you. And again, looking, and I'm going to say Black Caribbean people, whatever has gone on since the transatlantic slave trade began, even though we are no longer physically enslaved in terms of physically in chains, there are still bindings there, and there is still work being done to keep us limited by those who are not of the light, by those who recognize that we are sacred people, but they want to keep control. And that's where I'm going to leave it for today. 9/9. Time to close out those contracts. In terms of the work I do, I activate the light body. I'm an energy healer, crystal healer, read auras, balance chakras, activate new chakras. I do a lot of multi-dimensional work, which at the moment includes looking at binds that may have been there kind of beyond centuries. Bindings that have kept you limited from fulfilling your potential. And I see that once you're there, laid out on the table. So if anyone does want to book sessions with me, they can be done over Zoom. In person, well, we don't know how long we'll be doing that for. So, but yeah, sessions can be done over Zoom. So yes, do message me on Instagram. I'm UK Spiritual Hour. I'll put that in the description box below. If you want to find out more information, I do soul purpose readings as well, and I will tag Valerie as well in the post, and she's on Instagram. And there was something else I was going to say and I can't remember now. Contracts need to be looked into, highlighted, and more will come, either in the dismantling or disintegration of those contracts, or even just the viewing and the acknowledgement of those contracts. More information will definitely come through to you in terms of that. I'm doing a meditation on Zoom, free meditation on Zoom. We're focusing on, where it's healing the collective, healing envy and jealousy from the collective consciousness, and it's very much about going into the world, the Earth star chakra, which I consider to be Table Mountain, which is also the Earth element spinner wheel. And to really go in on this is on a very global level, kind of looking at that envy and jealousy, not necessarily personal. It is global. This world we live in now has been built up on envy and jealousy, that want for whatever someone else has got, and that control, so you can so you can have what people have got, that which is not yours, and then kind of looking at what it produces, what that envy and jealousy produces: rage, anger, violence, bitterness, stuff that really kind of seeps deep within. And then going into into the core of it, digging into that dirty little core and seeing what the cause is. Inadequacy, feelings of that inadequacy that can lead to false sense of superiority, lack of love, shame, low self-worth. So if you would like to join me in that meditation for us to really create the healing needed for this core wound of the earth, of the people who have been ruling this earth, of Europe, of Northern Africa and the Middle East. If you'd like to join me, it would be an absolute pleasure for you to help hold this space as well. So again, do send me a DM. Yes, do send me a DM on Instagram for that information. Sending you all an abundance of love, of light, of blissful joy and healing, awareness, and enjoy the rest of your week. Much love.